Hi, it's David Duffy from Business DNA, and following some feedback from our clients, I thought I'd put together this presentation just to give you some tips about working from home as a result of people being forced to do so over the last 6 weeks. And many of us are now starting to find that there's a bit of working from home fatigue, and that's about some of the structures and the disciplines that we've failed to set up in our work environment. So I thought I'd put together this presentation for you. So I'm going to cut the camera off from me and we'll get into it. So what we're finding is that it's a brand new environment for all of us. We've now been forced to come home. For many of us have never had to work from home, and now 6 weeks in, and really we're finding that our system at home isn't working. So I've got lots of little tips all the way through. A lot of it came from some stuff that I've learned from myself. Also, it came from a mate of mine and colleague, Russell Cummings, who has also worked from home most of the last 20 years. And so he gave me some tips as well. So the most important thing is about your setup to start with. If you've got an environment where your work environment doesn't allow for you to be in a comfortable working position, then it makes it almost impossible for you to be productive. And so this video is going to talk about productivity. And part of the productivity is making sure that you're comfortable and in an area where you have access to the right resources. So the first thing is making sure you've got enough adequate light, whether it's be overhead light or light from the windows, but being in direct sunlight isn't productive because it can often make you tired and sleepy. The second thing is 2 photos of postural alignment come from my wife, Prue Duffy, where she deals with people with back pains and neck pain, and most of the time it's due to the fact that they've got poor posture when they're working in a work environment. So making sure that your desk height is the right height, you've got your computer screen at the right level, and that you're not working on a desk that's too high or too low, or your seat is too high or too low. So having adjustable seats is also important. If you've got the opportunity of working with multiple screens, that's also helpful. But if you're working off a laptop and finding that your laptop is always below and you're looking down at your laptop, that'll also lead to headaches, neck pain, and other things. So try and create a right environment in your house that best works for you. And if you're going to be doing this for a reasonable period of time, then making sure that you've got a designated area is pretty important. The next thing is, apart from having the right environment, productivity is based around what we like to think of as 3 key principles. 1, have I got the right attitude? The next thing is, do I have the right tools? And then, am I got the right focus? And these things affect our productivity. Yes, we all go to a work environment, and lots of these things are actually provided for us, but when we're working from home, we've actually got to create this situation for ourselves. So let's go through it. Your attitude is everything. Your approach to how you go to work really determines how this is going to work for you. And just sitting in front of a computer screen doesn't mean that you're going to be productive. You need to take regular breaks. You need to be social. You need to make sure you've got variety, you've got clarity, you've got focus on what you need to be doing, and you've got to make sure you're doing it at the right time so that you are maintaining what is a normal work environment for you. So the best thing to do is actually get yourself into the same sort of routine as what you have when you're at work. Establishing a meaningful routine, and quite often as similar to what you had at work, is the best way to actually start getting your productivity right. For some people, I think it's really important that they think about whether they need to actually get dressed for work. When we first start off working from home, we tend to get a bit casual, and that casual dress may actually lead to a more casual attitude. So get dressed, make sure you're showered and shaved, and had your breakfast and got yourself into your normal routine. And then once you get dressed for work, some people find the best way of actually getting them into the right state is to walk out the door, go and get in their car, drive around the block if they need to, come back, park, come back in, walk through a different door, or through the lounge room door rather than through the back door or the laundry door, but come in through a different door which takes them into their work environment. And so as if they're entering the workplace like they would normally do. Then, if you've got a ritual about needing coffee first thing in the morning, or you stop and get a coffee, then, or tea, or you have water, make sure you also allow for that as well. So the more your routine is like it is at work, the easier it is for you to maintain that balance. So have your coffee, get it right. And then if you have coffee or lunch with co-workers or talk to other maybe clients or customers, then when you have your coffee, do the same thing. Give them a phone call, do a FaceTime call, organise a Zoom meeting, just do an open call. So just because you don't necessarily get to see them face to face doesn't mean that you can't continue to do what you've normally done. The next thing is taking regular breaks, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But if you need to get up and you walk around every half hour or every hour, make sure you do the same. Don't lock yourself down sitting in front of the computer and then work tirelessly for 4 or 5 hours and then expect that to be productive. The other thing is that if you're part of a team, then make sure you attend your team meeting, daily team meeting, or whatever the normal discipline is. In our office, everybody's working basically from home except for myself, and I can't do that because our internet connection won't support both my wife and I working from home. But everybody else is working from their different locations. So we've got one in Dubbo, one in Narromine, one at Rawsonville, and then we've got 3 other team members who are in different locations where they are located in Manila. So we meet twice a day and have our regular daytime meetings, but we'll talk about that later as well. So get yourself into the routine. Next, claim your workspace. Make sure that your workspace is your workspace. Doesn't matter whether it's temporary or permanent. Temporary meaning that you have to clear the space so that the family can use that area later on for meals or at the end of the day. But make sure you have your space. Make sure that people understand the rules around your space as well as to when you can have interruptions. And I've known of people who, once the door to the office or the bedroom which they've claimed is closed, the family know not to come in there, and they only enter after knocking on the door and being asked to come into the room. I've seen people, as I think Russell talks about, somebody who put out a dinosaur outside the workspace area, so the kids knew that whenever mum had the dinosaur out, they wouldn't enter that area. And that's really important, that you actually set up a discipline, not just for yourself, but for your family around what happens when you're in that work area. The other thing is to try and contain yourself within that workspace. So some people have found that they start working from home and they've got some of their files on the lounge room table, some of them next to the television, some in the bedroom on their desk, and they've got their papers and their work materials spread out over the whole house. Contain yourself to the work area that you've designated. It makes it easy for the rest of the family and for yourself. The other thing is try and control the noise. So one of the ways you can do that is, if you're used to working in an environment where the radio is going throughout the day with music, then set up the same environment. Use your Spotify account to do that, so that you have a similar tone and background to what you would have in the workplace. Or if you need to, for confidentiality, because your kids are running around and screaming and playing and doing their things, get headphones that actually cut out the noise from the background and focus, particularly when you're making phone calls, on your voice and not the exterior environment. The next thing is staying on the point, staying focused about why you're actually at work and what you're trying to achieve. This is quite often hard for people to do because there's lots of distraction when working from home. But it's important to actually work around and think about perhaps the 4 things that are most easiest for you to look at. So the 4-thing framework, we'll talk about this a couple of times through this part of the presentation, helps you find structure. So what we find in our job, we have lots of things that we have to do. And an example we've got there, sales calls, personal development, setting sales team directives, delivering on your marketing, purchasing stock, training, a whole range of different things that you could be doing. But what's most important is to think about what is your role and what makes your role successful. And what are the 4 things that you must focus on today and maybe every day while you're working from home, that if you get those things done, that'll lead to your job being more effective in this home environment. So take some time to identify what the 4 things that you need to do. And for me, my 4 things are focusing on my client work, making some sales and customer calls to find new work, so a little bit of marketing. I also have to do a constant amount of personal development. And I also have to figure out some strategy about things I need to do strategically, not only for my clients that I'm working on now, but for them in the future, as well as what I have to do for my business. So I've got 4 areas: client work, sales, personal development, and strategy. So what I want to do is allocate at least 15 minutes to 20 minutes, maybe half an hour every day to at least each of those areas. I'll spend the majority of my time on client work, but if I do half an hour of sales and marketing calls every day, by the end of the week, I would have done 2.5 hours on marketing, which will be much more effective than trying to allocate a whole day trying to figure out who I'm going to call, what I'm going to do, where I'm going to go, particularly when you can't go anywhere in this environment. So try and allocate time, prioritize out what needs to be done. And sometimes, because of our roles, you might have 4 things you have to do every Monday, Tuesday, and there are different strategic things you need to do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it's just a matter of mapping out what things are most important for you to get done in a day. Then once you've identified what the critical aspects of your job are, then there are other things that you know you have to do or you think you have to do, and now's a great time to stop and actually question, are these your jobs or is there something else you can do? And there are 4 key elements here. Identify what you can stop doing. Is there something that you've taken from the office place or it's been transferred to you now that you're working from home that really isn't part of your job and it doesn't adds to a distraction to you? So what can I stop doing? The next thing is there something that I should delegate to somebody else in my team? Just because I'm working from home, when I first started from working home, I may needed to be involved in a project or supervising a certain job. But now that I've been doing it for some time, I may have ended up with that job where in actual fact, I should delegate it back to the person in my team that it really belongs to. So go through your functions of what you're doing in a day and see whether there's something there that you can delegate. Equally, there are some things that you might be able to outsource. So if you're trying to do your social media posts, for example, and you're not very good at it and it's taking you a lot of time because you're not surrounded by the support of the team that you would have in the office, then this is something that you may wish to outsource. And there are lots of different things that can be outsourced. All you have to do is think about whether that's the right thing. And the last thing is, can I re-engineer it? And re-engineering is saying, how can I do this differently? And sometimes the best way to do this is actually to say, I've got a problem with this job's taking me too long, how can I do it differently? And perhaps connect with one of your team members or your coach and ask them to see if they can help you work through how to redesign it. And we've found that by working with people on around jobs where they've set up their own protocols, once we've stopped them and forced them to relook at it, we've actually able to slash the amount of time things being done, or we've been able to create systems or Excel files or use their accounting software or write new reports that will dramatically re-engineer the work that they're doing to actually make the job quicker and faster. The next thing is to have better meetings. And meetings are still really, really important in this environment. In our case, we have 2 meetings every day with everybody in our business. One, the early morning one, is to talk about what we plan to do for the day. Our team huddle takes 5 to 15 minutes, and it's mapping out what's actually going to happen during the day. It's also about saying g'day. It's also seeing how people are, talking about the weather, but it's all about getting back into that routine of feeling comfortable with my work environment. The second meeting we have at the end of the day, well, it's not at the end of the day, it's 3/4 of the way through the day, is to see how we're going with the transactional stuff that we're doing. What have we said we're going to do? Are we having any trouble? How have we progressed? What have we finished? And so that's also a really important thing to make sure we're keeping the harmony, the momentum in our business going. Then there's another type of meeting, which is either weekly or monthly, where we do sort of like, it's almost like a mini performance review, but it's a circuit breaker. How do we stop the pattern of what we've been doing? What have we said we were going to try and achieve this week? Or what are we going to set to achieve next week, which we're going to be monitoring each day through the week? So this is a really important meeting. This is about making sure that we stay focused on the longer term objectives of our job and making sure that we don't let the daily distractions or urgent matters that come up distract us from achieving what we need to do in the longer term. And then, of course, you've got monthly meetings, quarterly meetings, and half-year reviews. And these are more about management-related issues. What are we trying to do? How are we going? Preparing for a change in season, or if, depending on what your clients or customers are doing, are they affected by, if you're a farmer, if your clients are farmers, is it sowing time? What do we need to get in for sowing time? Or if it's harvest, or where are they sitting in their season? Are they needing to spray product? Or if it's a chemist, we're coming into winter. So now do we have to make sure we've got all our cold and flu stuff out, so available for customers? Whereas in summer and spring, we're starting to think about sunscreen and insect protection and a whole heap of other things. So your strategic meetings are about making sure that the pattern of what goes on in your client's life and in your life can be planned out so that they can be delivered. So meetings are really important and should be short, they should be sharp. Somebody should take notes on what's being done, but make sure you keep the discipline of every day. Working from home is not an excuse not to have your meetings. As a matter of fact, they tend to be more effective and more productive in this environment. Then the next thing is to make sure you use tools to leverage your time. And Russell put me onto this, Russell Cummings from Shift, the Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro is a type of tomato, and this methodology really improves your efficiency. So what it says is work for 25 minutes in a 25-minute burst, then take a 5-minute break, and every 4 cycles, then have a 15-minute break. And you'll find that it dramatically increases your focus and your productivity, and it reduces your interruptions and other things. In those 5-minute breaks, this is when you can make social phone calls, organise your lunch, have a cup of coffee, do the things that you normally do. But by setting up a timer to make sure it works, it really helps. So there's some links there that you can watch on how to best use it. I find that with my iPhone, I just go to the stopwatch and I set it for an alarm for every 25 minutes, and I just keep that going all throughout the day, and I find a really, really effective way and dramatically lifts my productivity. The other thing is to use task management software. So what happens, we get lots of different ways of which jobs get passed to us, and I think software can really help maintain your focus, provided you do 2 things. 1, record them, and 2, set a deadline. And also, perhaps the third thing is to make sure you prioritise and do the things that are urgent and really important, not just urgent and not important first, or things that are highly important that are going to affect the efficiency of your day or meet your objectives, rather than being distracted by the urgent and unimportant things. Some of the software that we use Microsoft Teams Viewer, Carbon, Task Manager, and the Outlook program. All are ways to increase our functionality. I've got clients who use Trello. It's also another software that system where putting your tasks in will dramatically improve it. There used to be Wunderlist as another system, but Microsoft is just in the process of changing it over. So it's really important to use software and put things in at the beginning of your day that you need to get done, set the right priority of them, And as you go through, tick them off. And the great thing about having a software system, at the end of the day, you can actually see what you're finished. And that's a great way of going through it. If you're a person who takes, like to write down the checklists or to-do lists, keep using that. But if you're not, try and use technology to help you along the way. The other thing is try and frame as many meetings as you can by using technology as well. We have clients right throughout New South Wales. We use Zoom meetings most frequently to contact them now that we can't travel. However, Skype is another methodology where you can actually call them over the internet directly to their phone to make sure that they can receive it on the phone. Whereas Zoom is something you have to book through their calendar for them to actually attend the meeting. We've had Zoom meetings now with up to 20 different business people on at the same time. We've run webinars through Zoom. Skype has similar functions. It all depends on which one gives you the best coverage. We find Zoom is a bit more reliable in our environment, whereas Skype tends to drop in and out and the quality of the recording is not as good. But that'll vary from wherever you are, depending on your service provider. Microsoft Teams is also another fantastic system to help, and or GoToMeetings. We've used GoToMeetings or Messenger. There's an increasing amount of functionality around Messenger, or FaceTime is another example. By using these mediums where you can talk and see the person on the other end, it's amazing how effective it can be. And certainly FaceTime allows people to be out in a paddock or out in a shed and use their phone to actually show you what they're talking about and actually see what problems they're trying to fix. So use the technology to actually make the telephone call more effective. The other thing is, in responding to people, some of us aren't the world's greatest typists. So one of the ways to actually increase our efficiency is to use audio or video messages. So if you've got Zoom, for example, like I'm doing at the moment, I'm recording this on Zoom, you can record a message and then send them the link to the message. And that way they can see you, you can share screens or material with them, and it can make the message pretty effective. Another way is just to record an audio message and send them the audio message. A couple of quick tips there. Be prepared, first of all. Take notes about the key points you want to discuss. Don't ramble on, and stick to the detail that you have. And plan your responses by perhaps using dot point. If you're using a video and you're doing a PowerPoint to support what you're doing, having dot points in there that summarize what you're going to talk about rather than writing out the whole message is also effective. I also use Dragon Natural Speaking version 15. There is voice activated software that you can also use. There's voice memo on your Apple phones. There's a whole heap of stuff that you can use. You can also use your iPhone, and if you're using your iPhone or your Samsung or whatever smartphone you've got, sometimes a selfie stick or a camera tripod is a really effective way of holding that so that you can be demonstrating things on whiteboards or showing them how to put parts together or look at charts or other details whilst you're not fixed to the location of the thing. So use the technology wherever you can. Lots of desktop stuff allows you to edit it as well. Camtasia or Snippet. Apple has ScreenFlow, Loom. There's a number of different softwares out there. Most of them are free that can be really help to make your meetings and your messages more effective. But it's amazing how a video or an audio message will get a better response than just sending another email. Email. First thing about email is a really great time waster. And what we find is lots of people get distracted really early in the day by jumping on and dealing with the emails because that sets up their day. When in actual fact, your day should start with you prioritizing what you need to get done in the day. And perhaps in your first break, after your first 25 minutes, that's when you might program into when you're going to look at your email. And so 3 times a day is a good rule of thumb. Mid-morning, I do mid-morning, just before lunch, and I do it mid-afternoon. But try not to do it at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, it doesn't get your attention, you're already leaving, or it may force you to work longer than you want to. In the morning, unfortunately, it breaks your pattern and makes things that appear urgent and unimportant come up into your list of things I must get done, whereas the important things get pushed aside. I have majority of my emails allocated straight into selected inboxes. So client emails go straight to the client file under their name, and I look through and it shows me which clients have sent me new emails. Any email that I receive relating to training or courses or chamber meetings or other activities, I have those automatically filed in a file, or I have them in the other system. So in Outlook, you can set up a secondary email box where unimportant emails can be automatically moved into the other file, which you can look at whenever you like. I tend to look at my other file over lunch while I'm having something to eat, and most of it goes straight to the trash anyway. Make sure you stick to the times. So if your Pomodoro timer is going and you're on your 5-minute break, don't spend more than 5 minutes looking at your email, right? And allocate your email to your Pomodoro time breaks. Don't set a full 25 minutes just to deal with email. And make sure if you can set up templates for responses, use the template function as well. Now, if you're working with remote teams or you have a lot of team connection, then it's really important to tell them when you're going to look at your email, so they have an expectation, not going to instantly respond, but you probably need to check it more than 3 times a day. So 6 times a day, every hour, on the hour, in your Pomodoro break is when you're going to check it. If you tell them that's when you're going to do it, then your customers, as well as your staff, will follow those rules. They become educated quite quickly. And if there's something really urgent, then they pick up the phone and give you a buzz. So what's next in relation to the virus? The virus, just before moving on to this, those tips around working from home, if you follow those tips and set up your disciplines around the points we just talked about, you'll find that it'll make a big difference in increasing your productivity and making sure that you get more achieved in your day, and the distractions of your home environment will become less and you'll be more productivity. So work on those. Now, if you're still working around, what am I going to do with the virus? Don't forget that we've done a webinar. Andrew and myself did a webinar on the virus. We also made up a 9-point guide of things to look at around key areas of your business, with a series of questions about what you need to ask or to check, and that free guide sitting on our website, so please go to that and have a look at it. Also, we have available 2 free online training courses for you and your team. It's limited to 2 courses. We've got about 16 different courses around, from problem solving to strategic planning to sales ideas, personal development. There's a whole range of different subject matter there that you may find productive. Leadership there. So anyway, there's a whole heap of those things. Normally they're worth $400 each, but for you over the next month, if you want any of your team members to look at any of those courses, then we're offering those for free. Coronavirus is affecting everybody's business and the way everybody's working. If you're working from home and you're feeling isolated or you're feeling unsure about what to do next, if your business is about to recover or you think recovery to normal business trade's about to happen and you're not sure how to realign your team, then give us a call. Talk to either Andrew or Bobby or myself. We're really happy to take a free booking from you to actually start talking to you about these issues so that we help you move forward and can make sure that Corona is something we've managed, not that Corona has managed us. So be proactive, book a free consultation call with either Andrew, Bobby or myself, and I hope the tips around making your working from home are helpful, but make sure we stay at the front end of our businesses And if we can help you, please give us a call. Look forward to speaking to you soon. Take care. Thanks.